you for joining my live. Thank you for joining my live today. So we'll be talking about a life transformative session. This is meant to be a masterclass, and if you're joining from anywhere, if you're on TikTok and Instagram or YouTube, I'd love you to ensure, Thank you for joining my live. If you're joining from TikTok or YouTube, I'd love you to subscribe and to leave me a like. It's quite crucial so you can get to learn from this masterclass. This is meant to leave you with, it's meant to be a life transformative session that's going to leave you not the same. It's going to leave you transformed. Your whole life is going to be transformed. Now, I talked about how not to cheat, and it's been sparkling some reviews and it's building momentum in people watching, because I know that this is a topic that everybody wants to get into at this point in time, when everybody wants to know what to do to not, everybody wants to know what to do to not fall in the trap of cheating and getting involved in sexual intimacy outside of the commitment they have to their partner. Now, if you are watching this, I want you to leave me a like and a subscribe, and I want you to follow me on all social media handles and pages. I also want you to ensure you share this with as many as possible people who you know is going to benefit from this. And today we'll be talking about sexual manipulation. It's intended to be a master class that's going to help you. Normally, you should be paying for this, but to be on this live, you're going to be learning life transformative acquiring life transformative information to help you in the course of your journey, in helping your marriage and ensuring that your marriage is successful and what you have to offer does not go down the drain. So I would also want you to go back to my live and I think we uploaded the video as well. My team did that, where you can get information on how not to cheat or how to understand cheating in marriage. So today, maintaining sexual boundaries. Now, many times you just sit back and look at your life and feel, how exactly did that happen? How did I get sexually intimate with this person? And many times you can't seem to understand or put the pieces together of how it went from one conversation to getting on the bed, or sometimes it's in the car, wherever it was that it happened. Because when we talk about sexual intimacy with people, many people keep secrets now, and it doesn't have to be your matrimonial bed in your home before you have sexual intimacy or sexual commitments to any other person. Oh, I'm sorry, I really appreciate that some persons want to join on Telegram, but this is meant to be a one it's meant to be my class. It's not meant to I wouldn't want to have audience on this. I just want us to listen to this and watch this masterclass. Thank you so much for everyone sending their invite, and I really appreciate it. Well, I'm going to be taking this class solely today. So, maintaining sexual boundaries, you have just looked at your life. You can't tell how you got from having a conversation, one phone call, one text, one message, one email, and then you walked past, you've had sexual intimacy like 4 or 5 times now. You can't even tell your partner because you can't even explain yourself. Now, many times, many people do not know how they got into that place where it happened. And that's what we are going to be talking about today. And I have what I have to talk about here in 2 sections. The first is talking about the psychology around how you have sexual intimacy with people outside of your commitments and outside of your marriage, how it happens, because it doesn't just start with when you are on the bed. The sex doesn't happen when you are already on the bed. It happens way before then. It happens in bits and pieces of times that you have had these conversations, have talks, and there are many assumptions that people have, many myths, and the level of overconfidence in ourselves many times when you say it can never happen to me or this can never happen between us. But at the end of the day, when it happens, you start thinking about, I really didn't imagine that could have happened to me. So I talked about how that when we talk about sexual intimacy and sexual manipulations, it can be on both sides, whether from the man or from the woman. It doesn't. It's not usually just the man who manipulates the woman. So it happens anyway, anyhow. But how does it start? How does he? How do you fall into it? Because many times it also starts innocently. So I'll be touching on those who are deliberate about manipulating people into having sexual intimacy with them, but majorly I'll be focusing on those who never had it in mind to manipulate or to have sexual intimacy outside of their marriage. I'm not going to be majoring on those who are deliberate about it, because Those who are deliberate about it can be like praised. They are out there to look for people and to deceive them and to, trick them into. And also, I'll be talking about in the section 2, I'll be talking about manipulators, what these manipulators look for, and that's why this is titled Manipulators Playbook, the manipulation playbook. How people trick you into sexual intimacy, whether you are a man or you are a woman. Many times you can predict it, you can project it, and also many times it can happen without you planning for it. I've had to counsel a lot of people. I've had experiences myself, sexual intimacy outside. Now, I'm not saying I've had intimacy, sexual intimacy outside of marriage now. I'm saying I've had opportunities and temptations to take advantage of having sexual intimacy with people. I was able to handle them well, but not many people are able to handle sexual intimacy outside of marriage well, and I need you to pay attention to this. So the first section I talked about, we'll be talking about the psychology around it and the neurology around sexual intimacy. The many scenarios that makes it happen even when you never believed you could have sexual intimacy outside of your committed partner. Now, I'm talking about people who are also intended to commit to their partner here, not those who want to be jumping around. So, now, talking about boundary, we all assume that we have a boundary. So when you hear people say, it can never happen to me, I can never have sexual intimacy with my friend's boyfriend or with my friend's girlfriend, we assume we just have that self-esteem and that confidence in ourselves that this can never happen, because in a way we have this vague understanding of our standard, when most importantly when we have not been able to sit down and say, this is exactly how I'm going to do it, this is exactly how I'm going to uphold my standard, and I'm not going to have sexual intimacy outside of marriage. So many times we just say it vaguely and hope it will not happen. But when proximity begins to bring opportunity, or proximity meets with opportunity, we just can't understand how we have ended up having this sexual intimacy with someone we never imagined or believed we would have had this experience with. Now, I'm trying to ensure that I'm not using some words like the SEX word, and I'm just trying my best to not do that, because this is a larger live stream, and I hope I'm able to do that successfully. So now, usually you don't wake up and say, I want to have sex, or I want to have sexual intimacy outside of marriage, or I want to cheat on my partner, or I want to have this experience with someone else. Many times it doesn't start like that. Sometimes it may start with a thought, which is you are usually extra familiar with your partner and your body seems to want to explore. And there's this science that says that, this research that says that a man is naturally polygamous. Now, I do not believe that, because it's been questioned. The accuracy has been questioned, that men are not naturally polygamous. Humans, both the men and the women, naturally want options for themselves. When you're stuck with one thing for too long, there is a high chance that your psychology or your biology or your neurology wants something new, something out of the ordinary, what you're not used to spice up the experience you've been having. So usually that is where I will peg that. But then I will get into a few of the points I have here. I have 4 points around vulnerability, the issue of vulnerability. Now, many times we do not know what vulnerability is or when we are vulnerable. And I hope that this masterclass is going to help you achieve self-awareness, where you understand yourself, why you do what you do, when you do what you do, what can be the trigger that makes you do the things that you do. Now, I want you to leave me likes and subscribe if this is helping you already. And if you have any questions, I think I should be able to go through them later, maybe not now. So while we are vulnerable to this in the first place, to sexual intimacy outside of before being manipulated, I'm talking about what helps you to be self-aware now. The first is emotional starvation. Now, we think that why we cheat, why people cheat. I don't want to say we now, so you don't assume that I cheat, or you don't assume that I'm representing men. I'm representing everybody. Why humans cheat? First is out of emotional starvation. And it's not necessarily lost, because what we see on the surface is lost, but the back end, what is responsible for that lust, which in general terms I would mean you fantasizing that experience with someone else, you thinking you could have this experience, or putting someone entirely strange, like your colleague, your sister, your neighbor, in your head, substituting your partner with them, and probably having this sexual intimacy run through your head. Before it gets to that, is a place of emotional starvation. Now, I believe that you guys may have heard many times people who engage in sexual intimacy outside of their commitments, outside of their marital commitments, or romantic relationship commitments. What they many times blame this on is, oh, my partner wasn't available for me. So I had this desire, I had this longing, my body was reacting this way, but my partner would not be available to satisfy this urge. So then it makes them go ahead to have this whatever. Now, the back end, or the first part of it, is that there is emotional starvation, or the experience starvation, where they are not able to get this from their partner, and they start tilting towards, because the body is why, especially when you are engaged in sexual experiences with your partner. So there's your body, the testosterone would already be programmed to release at some point, or to want to express itself. So when that happens and your partner is not available, your body, even when you don't want it, even so, I should say this: when I was about 21, 22 years old, when I started experiencing sexual urge, I thought it was, as a religious person, I thought it was the devil messing up with my mind. Like, I don't think about this naturally. I don't do this. I don't think about women. I don't even feel this sexual urge in my body. Please leave me a like on TikTok if you're watching this. And that was based off of ignorance. I did not understand that as you grow older, since you are human, you would have sexual urges. You will start having the desire to meet with a woman. Now, as a man, to meet a woman with a woman, or a man to meet with someone else. So there was always that. I'm sorry, I'm not adding anyone to the call. So there's always that, where you want to have the other, you feel the sexual urge, basically. Now, the end of that is not that you satisfy it all the time. It means that you have grown into a new level, where you bring boundaries around you to ensure that you do not keep expressing the sexual urge as you feel it. Because what many people do is, the moment they start having sexual urges, they put it into expression and start, having it real out with many people, or the opportunities they have around. Or some might be so loose enough that people take advantage of that, and they might say, oh, I cannot do this, I can't have sexual intimacy outside of marriage, outside of my committed relationship. But they begin to do it because they do not understand what boundaries around your sexual urge can be. So I want to talk about this starvation. I'm talking about, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are attracted to the person you have this experience with. It doesn't mean that you are attracted to the person to your colleague, or to the random guy who chats you, or your old schoolmate, or whoever it is that you have met, and then you are having sexual intimacy. Now, I want to say this, because it doesn't, well, we've seen it on the news, but because many people don't say it, there are a lot of people, lots of people, who have sexual intimacy outside of their committed marital, outside of their marital commitments, or their relationship commitments, because they are either not equipped with this information I'm sharing here, or they do not know how to respond to life better by being equipped with this. So I would love you to leave a comment if this is helping you. But I'm trying to ensure not to interact with saying that as much. But I want you to leave a comment or questions there. So, because we are recording this live, and then we are live on YouTube as well. Now, emotional starvation, that's emotional starvation. The second is the ego eat. Now, for men, naturally, when what makes a man vulnerable to sexual intimacy outside of their commitment, outside of their marital commitment, or their commitment to their partner, is usually men are egoistic. You must have heard that anywhere, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing this. Men have this ego, and usually they may not be emotional in the likes of saying I love you or I don't love you. But when you begin to affirm the strength of a man, to say, oh, you are the best amidst your team, or you do things really exceptionally, you are just phenomenal, it gets into a man's head and it opens a door of vulnerability, because men love that you massage their ego. When they hear it from you, they want to keep you in proximity because they want to keep hearing that. So, and it makes them become vulnerable. And then comes the issue of this can never happen between us until eventually it happens. So, someone new finds you interesting again, or laughs at things nobody laughed at. So, usually it happens when you, as a man, you start feeling loved differently, feeling respected, feeling honored, or being put in the limelight by someone else is taking you seriously. Usually, a man becomes vulnerable at that point. From the place of a man's ego, he can become vulnerable. He can become vulnerable. The third is familiarity lowers the guard. Now, usually, the more you get close to someone, especially of the opposite sex, the higher the chance of sexual intimacy erupting between you, the higher the chance. When you talk, I said this in the last live, uh, how that conversations, communication really fosters emotional transaction. When you talk with somebody into the night, when you talk every time, when you talk every day, the what happens is you begin to release your emotion on these people. You begin to release your emotion. It flows into these people. And what happens after that is your guard begins to lessen. So now you move from conversations that should just center around politics, office work, jobs, and other things that bring you guys together. You start talking about intimate things like family, and when it starts getting sexual, starts getting into the body. Now it doesn't go straight into sexual talks. It gets from, oh, I'm getting the skincare part of my body, I need to attend to it, and then you feel like, oh, is that how all your skin is, or is that how all the parts of your body is it like that, and your side, this side, I don't want to mention that, or your chest part, your bum side, your this side. It's just begin to tilt and spiral from one part of the conversation to another. And that is how people, that's the area of vulnerability, people lose their guard. The area of familiarity, people lose their guard. Now, you hear things like, what is your bra size? When a man starts asking questions like, what is your bra size, there's a high chance that the boundaries have been shattered. And usually by the time a man gets to what is your bra size, you have already moved. There's been a pile up and deposit of vulnerable moments and exchange of emotions that usually the lady is not going to say no. And even if they go back and forth, those kind of conversations will go like, why are you asking me that? No, you shouldn't be asking. There wouldn't be a firm, no, you should not ask me that. No, you should not be asking that. It will really be, you shouldn't be asking me of my bra size. It's not fair. And then the guy might stop at the moment, but the next time he continues to ask a question like that. Now, or you hear things like, are you a virgin? Now, in a conversation where you are not committed to this person, and it happens when they say, is my bestie, she's my bestie. Usually besties, I'm not saying 100% of besties, but a high percentage, I don't want to give the ratio now, of people say we are besties, I've either, the highest percentage, I've either fantasized about this other person, whether or not there's love involved or not. They've either fantasized about this other person, sexual fantasy, or they've had the actual experience, or there's been the preliminary touching. I believe you get what I mean. I'm trying to be conscious of whatever I'm saying here already. So before it gets to that, you understand that familiarity lowers the guard. When you're too familiar with somebody, they know so much about you, you know much about them, you're on video calls, you're not even concealing a part of your body. It makes them vulnerable, or it makes you both vulnerable, and then you can keep on talking about things that will end up crushing your marriage. Now, I remember, so this was my personal experience talking about familiarity and proximity. I remember there was a day a lady who was just an acquaintance entering my space to be a friend came visiting. I had invited her over, necessarily I had invited her over, and I saw that my body was almost responding one kind, not because this lady was exceptionally beautiful, but because I'm a man. And I remember asking this lady point blank, like, if I had asked you for this experience, for a sexual experience, would you have consented? And she went back and forth. Eventually, she said, yes, I would have consented. And I had to tell her, I'm sorry, you may have to leave now. So I'll get in touch with you. We'll talk over the phone. And then I had to let her go. After then, she would ask if she should come visit. I'll tell her no, because I already knew, I had the boundary. I knew that this lady is vulnerable. If I should lose my guard for a moment, this thing is gonna happen. This sexual experience is gonna happen. So it's important that you understand that proximity with people will has the high chance of fostering sexual intimacy when you are close with somebody. And that is why in religious settings they talk about things like, don't put your hand around this person, don't hug this person this kind of way, don't carry this person this kind of way, don't stay in the house with a lady. And that's why we have restrictions like that in many religious settings, because it is understood that when there's familiarity and a kind of proximity, it can bring about opportunity in the long run to foster or to make the sexual experience eventually happen. I want you to leave me a like as you're joining the live stream. Thank you so much if this is helping you. So the third here is on unmet needs. Go looking for an exit. Usually, this is in relation to emotional starvation. When, or I should have explained this in the place of emotional starvation, usually when you don't have somebody expressing this love to you in a kind of way, you go looking for it elsewhere. Now, it's important that you are self-aware, because your brain will not tell you this is what I'm looking for. You just start seeing that you are getting familiar, or you are sexually aroused when there's this lady around you, or you are sexually motivated when there's this guy around you, or when you have this kind of conversation with this person, you are sexually loose. And that is what ensures that you pay attention to every vulnerable moment, or every time there's a need you have. Like I talked about it, if you've been having sexual experiences, there's a high chance that when you don't have it anymore, your body's going to keep asking or calling for it. Now, many people will lie and say, oh, I can keep myself for a year, for 2 years, for 6 months. But many times I counsel people, I listen to people talk. You can tell that they are just making it up. It is not real. It's people trying to tell you or show you that I'm a hard person as well, I'm not a loose person. But many times they don't have that strength. They are just trying to let you know that they have the strength. Now, how does this really happen? How does sexual manipulation happen? After you must have understood what I explained here, why we are vulnerable to this in the first place, why we are vulnerable to sexual intimacy. Now, I talked about emotional starvation. It doesn't start with lust, it graduates into lust at some point, but it doesn't start with that. The ego eats, familiarity lowers the guard, and then unmet needs go looking for an exit. So the part two of this, I'll be talking about the actual playbook, and I'll run you through the stage by stage of how people go from experiencing sexual intimacy outside of their marital commitment, which can also be a way that they are being manipulated or self-manipulated. The first stage is the reassurance line, when you say it can never happen between us. Usually, I've seen men do this. I've seen women do it as well, but men tend to think that they have their sexual emotion in control. Usually because it arouses in you, and at first you can still think. But what we don't understand is the moment you pledge your sexual connection to an image, to a picture, it sets up a trigger, only looking for an opportunity to explode. But men usually think, oh, it's not going to happen. And women as well think, oh, this is not going to happen between myself and this person. She's just my colleague, he's just my friend, or even she's just my wife's friend, or she's just my husband's friend. It can never happen between us. But many times it happens between them. So it starts from that in the conversation. I'm getting close to this person. At some point in my life, I remember before I got married, whenever I got in contact with anybody that I knew as a friend of the opposite sex, Usually I understand that my conversations can be quite honest, and women are easily deceived by honesty, or not deceived. Women are easily connect with anybody who is honest, and then you understand that this may be a strength but also pose as a weakness for women. So I understood that whenever I got in a conversation with people, because I also know how to communicate and I believe I'm intelligent, women usually would be carried away by intelligence. Women usually are carried away by intelligence. So they begin to love you because you're intelligent. And that's why you see when men fake intelligence, some women also get carried away by that. Also get carried away by that. Now, when this begins to happen, it goes around. I know myself. I'm going to control myself. I'm going to keep myself. But at the end of the day, it is not safe, because you know that this works in gradual stages of. It doesn't start with the intimacy itself. It doesn't start with the first time you meet and you land on the bed. And if I ask many people here, or my listeners, my audience, if I ask you and say, if you meet a stranger today, what's the chance of you having sexual intimacy? You say, no, it can never happen. Usually we say no, it can never happen, but there are two things that you have to consider, and two ways it really happens most of the time. The first is, if you've had unmet needs and your body already has a trigger, you are already starved of this experience, or your mind has been majoring on it, you've accumulated enough experiences and you've prepared yourself, and all you're looking for is a trigger. Even if you meet with a stranger, you can fall as the victim and you think you're just being manipulated, or I didn't know how that happened. I just opened my eyes and we've already had the experience. We were just waking up from the bed. It did not just happen. It happened from way back. You feeding on rated eating content, you fantasizing in your head, having your neighbor's wife, imagining because they have a kind of shape. You've already prepped your brain, your head, and you've wired your body system to respond to a scenario, even though you are not consciously aware of that. And the moment that situation, the opportunity presents itself, you just act it out. You go on ahead and have the experience. I would love you to leave a like as you're watching this. Now, the false confidence, the stage 2 is the false confidence. I can control myself. So the first is it can never happen between us. The second is I can control myself. You say, and this is a level of deception that we think, like I mentioned, we have a vague idea of our strength. So you say it can never happen. I can control myself. So even when you know that this lady is emotionally connected to you, or you start talking about sexual things, you start talking about, it's funny how that even friends talk about friends, not people in relationship, gets into conversation around what is your best SEX position. And they assume that they are just talking about generic things. It's just one of those conversations. It's not a big deal. It's not out of the ordinary. And then you go into, but already you can tell that your body is prepared to respond in a way. Even from the conversation on the phone, you're having the sexual conversation with this person on the phone, you can tell how your body responds. You can't talk about some parts of the body and your body doesn't respond to it, because what you have to understand is, if you say, what is your bra size? If I'm asking you the question, my brain is imagining bra and what is inside. And for you listening, you are not imagining a lion or real estate investment. What you're imagining as well is what this person is saying, because words create images. That's what you need to pay attention to. So whoever is on the other side of the phone may think it is an innocent question, but it is not innocent, because you are communicating with this person, releasing words that create images that your neurology begins to hold on to and begin to follow through. So from that, it begins to get sexual. Your body responds to it. There's hardly anybody who can say point blank that when they got discussing, and I would also say this. So because we have a charity organization, I'm also exposed, and because I coach people, I'm exposed to see many people who go through some experiences that you would not have wanted them to go through, like have scandals. Some are true, some are not. But even the ones who are true, you just can't come out and say, oh, it is true, this person had this sexual scandal. You just have to cover up sometimes because you want to ensure you protect all the parties involved to not have, I'm not saying we have to lie, but you have to ensure that the truth is handled strategically or systemically to ensure that lives are preserved. So, uh, so you find people who attend to, like a coach like myself. So you find people who come to me and talk about their sexual experiences. Now, because of the fact that this person is communicating how she was manipulated. Now, there are professional ways to handle this. The moment you start lessening and loosening or lowering your guard, and you're asking this person, run me through the scenario, and you are the only person listening to this conversation, and you're saying, how did it happen? It says it happened in my room. What did he do? He raised he held my hands firm. What next did he do? The moment this lady, let's assume it's a lady being victimized there, is explaining the scenario to you bit by bit and taking you through the journey, the listener is not only hearing, the listener is also, by virtue of listening to whatever he's listening to, creating images in his brain to understand what this other party is explaining. And when you imagine it so much or imagine it enough, it starts becoming an experience to you, whether or not you consent to it or not. Your body may start responding to it. And that's why even as coaches, you find coaches who have one-on-one sessions, physical sessions, and online sessions who have those kind of mini experiences, but physical sessions who end up having sexual experiences with their clients. Now, I'm not saying every coach do that. No, not every coach. I'm trying to say whether or not it's a coach or it's a mentor or it's a leader or it's anybody, usually people subject themselves to those experiences, because they are not prepared enough. So from it can never happen between us, it goes to I can control myself. And the stage 3 is proximity is usually manipulated as convenience. Usually when you have proximity with people, you losing your guard. And you think it is trust, you think it is honesty, but when you are close to with people, there's a high chance that your body chemistry is going to be touched. There's a high chance that your body chemistry is going to be influenced. There's a high chance that your body chemistry is going to be moved. So I would use those words to qualify this. So proximity. You say we just talk every day, we talk late into the night. Usually when you find people who talk late into the night, there's a high chance, a very high chance, people talk every day late into the night, there's a high chance their conversation is going to get sexual. I'm telling you for a fact, there's a very high chance that if it is not business conversation, you say it is just my friend, she's just my friend, there's a high chance the conversation is going to get sexual. And from sexual conversation, it starts becoming they start prepping themselves either directly or indirectly for the experience to happen physically. And there are people who have this sexual intimacy over the phone because things are quite wild now. Now, number 4, the compliment that gets into people's head. I talked about this. When people are flattered about looks, when for women, it's quite different because women usually want to be affirmed or reaffirmed. Women usually, even the hardest of women, the strongest of women, loves to hear people say you are beautiful, loves to hear people say you're exceptional, you're phenomenal, you're this and you are that, you're wholesome, you are the best in the world, even though they may not be the best in the world. Holding women to a high standard makes them vulnerable in a way. It's a part of a strength that you can release yourself to people, but if not properly gated or manned or guarded, it can end in disaster. So when you compliment women, if it gets into their emotion. When you massage a man's ego, it gets into their head. They want to have proximity with you because you are validating what they want to see. Because most men live on ego. Most men live on ego, and that's how society has programmed men as well. So the number 5 is the justification loop. I talked about this in How Not to Cheat on Your Partner. The justification loop. When now you started deleting messages, you have your partner beside you, but you are hiding your phone when you're replying to your friend or your girl. But you have said this person is your colleague, but there are messages that this colleague sends to you that you delete. So for example, and I've seen these cases play out well, when you get so vulnerable with your colleague and then it gets to a conversation where you start talking about, oh, are you and your partner going to have sex tonight? Or like, oh, are you going to have this experience tonight? And there's no reason why you should be having this conversation. There's no reason why you should be having this intimate conversation with a stranger. But when you get vulnerable and loose, or probably by virtue of having this proximity with this person, you start talking into some areas on some grounds, and you start hiding messages, passwording your phone in a kind of way, securing some chats or hiding in some secured folder, and doing another one is staying late in your car. Like you've driven home, you still take some time in your car to reply to some messages or to make some phone calls because you don't want anybody to hear about it. Then there's the problem. So you tell your partner, say, oh, we're just talking, it's not a big deal. Or it's just a chat, it's just one of those things. Oh, I mean no harm, or they mean no harm. It's just one of those things. There is already a problem. When there's a stranger or there's a partner outside of your marital commitments or your romantic relationship commitments who is asking you intimate conversation about what is happening in your sexual life or what is happening in your life sexually. So are you a virgin? Have you had this experience before? Was he a man? Was he a woman? Once you start hearing those kind of conversations and then you're justifying it by saying we are just friends, it's just one of those things, then you're losing your ground already, and it may be a trap you will not recover from in a long time. The stage 6 is I think I just ran that through, when secrecy and justification have been running together long enough. When the secrets you're keeping from your partner is being massaged, is being expanded, then problem starts. What's the word? Problem starts compounding. So when you understand these stages, the reassurance line, when you say it can never happen between us, when you say I can control myself, when there's a proximity, you start getting too close to people unduly, and when there's the compliment, you're falling the victim of compliments, or you are a compliment monger. You just want people to compliment you to reaffirm what you may know or not know about yourself. Then you start falling victim of this. Now, the last one, or the last two, would be the justification loop, and when you start keeping secrets. Then I'll move to the part 2 of this, is how you understand manipulation. The easiest ways to understand manipulation when it's coming out of purpose, when you know that you are a target. These are the few things. Now, it is not comprehensive, because a man or a woman can, in the bid to get into your closer circle, pretend and leave out what your needs are. Say at the moment what you need is somebody who can reassure them. Then you start playing the role of the reassurer. You start showing up for them, start giving them the things they need. Start when there's somebody making them weep or cry, or they are disappointed, you are the one there over the phone to say, no, everything's gonna be all right, everything's gonna be okay. You start playing the Lord or the God or the emotional load bearer. You can walk your way into their lives, and it may be a little tricky to detect. Also, you understand that people can be victims of emotional this manipulation or intimacy outside of your committed relationship, even when you don't intend, even when that was not the right intent for it to have happened. But whether or not it is the intent of what you're looking for before getting close to this person, whether or not it's your intent, it has to be clear to you that you need to have boundaries, and boundaries are meant to be maintained. So when it's coming at you on purpose, the first thing to look out for is when people move fast on personal information and they start using it against you. It's quite crucial when you meet somebody for the first few days or the first week and they're already asking you personal information. It's already getting to have you had this experience before? Has anybody touched you this way before? Or I don't mean any harm. I don't mean any harm. I'm just curious to ask, do you like this kind of thing? What if I touch this? What if I ask you out? What if we are just together in a room and then I move towards you this way? And the problem with that is when you treat those kind of conversations in an innocent way and don't address the fact that if this person is asking this kind of question, if I address it by just saying, oh, can we not talk about that, you will still talk about later. Now, the actionable steps you need to play on, I'll talk about that, but for the sake of this, so if you're listening to this, is you have to cut off the conversation from there. First, you have to be firm on saying, no, we don't have this kind of conversation, and then put boundaries in place to ensure that it doesn't get to that anymore. If you know you're not going to be with this person or you don't want to keep having this kind of conversation, you have to reduce communication with this person, because at that point, they have started fantasizing with you. I remember teaching this, that usually any man who sees pornography or rated 18 content, or any man who has this sexual urge is not able to satisfy, there's a high chance that he has fantasized about all the women around him, or at least one or two of the women around him. Because for you to satisfy yourself, or the pictures in your head, your sexual urge yourself, you have brought people's picture, people existing around you, you have brought their picture into your head to fantasize having your sexual whatever with them in your head already. So when people get into conversations with you and they're already asking those kind of questions, you have to set the boundary and say, no, we do not discuss this, and ensure that you cut the conversation. So I'll be talking about the problem of no, why we have the no problem, and why people fall victim of this sexual manipulation and sexual intimacy outside of marital. I should also say this. There are many sexual intimacy cases outside of the marital commitments that, if they were to be let out today, not as secrets, if they were to be told, many homes will crumble. Many homes will crumble because many people have been victims of this. A lot more people have been victims of this. Now, the first year is I'm talking about the signs someone is working you and not just talking to you. Signs that someone is deliberate about manipulating you. The first you can think about here is that they move fast on personal information and then they start using it to, they don't want to talk about politics as much, other things as much, other areas of interest. They just want to talk about, what does your partner do to you? What do you know about this? It starts getting intimate. Like the common word I would say, what is your bra size? They start getting intimate, and you shouldn't condone that from anybody. Or if you say, what's your strength in bed? There are conversations you have to run away from. So and I should also add that those kind of conversations come with, or I think I can teach you some things here. Or, I'm naive. There's nothing I know. I'm just hoping you can tell me. Or I've always had this curious question. So there was this curious question that a guy asked the lady. He said, I've heard that. So I'll go straight. It's more like asking a woman, I just want to know. It's not like I'm a bad person, or it's not like, I just want to know for educational purposes. Asking a woman this, like, is there bone in a woman's breast? Now, when you ask those kind of questions, what do you expect? That you can go to AI to educate you, not asking a woman, because you are sparking an intimate conversation that may not end well. That is, I will leave that there. The second is, so the first is they move fast on personal information and they use it. The second is they isolate the conversation from the rest of your life. So when you hear people talk and they tell you delete the message, people have conversations with you and tell you, do you want to clear the message so no one can see it? When people have conversations with you and they say, are you sure there's nobody around? Have you told anybody about this? Or nobody should know about us? When you have conversations like that, you are being manipulated. There's this person who is preying on you and ensures you fall into the trap as he is building the trap for you. And I know that just helped many people right there. When people, and It's funny how that many people understand this as I'm pitching it to you now, but when it comes to them living it out, they live a completely different life. They live a completely different, or I would say they live a lie. So you know that somebody telling you, delete this message, don't tell your husband about this, don't tell your partner about this, don't tell your wife about this, don't tell anybody about this, means that they are hiding things, or you are already building a ground of secrecy that is going to backfire. And it's going to go so much so that when these people tap into your sexual emotions, it may be difficult for you to sever yourself from them, because even after they have cut away from you and you're no more having those kind of conversations, it still messes up with your brain because you have connected yourself with them emotionally. So what I mean to explain there is, even if you and this other person did not end up having the sexual experience, but you have talked about it long enough, you've talked about it so much enough, you talked about the details of what is the best SCX position you love, what is how you would want to do this. If you talked about long enough, even if it does not eventually end up happening, because you've imagined it in your head, you felt it in the whole biology of your body, and the person is no more available, it still plays in your head. It messes up with your brain. It flashes sometimes, even when you would not have wanted to think about it. And the sad part is, when you are meeting with your partner, you may end up starting to test run the things this other person has thought about or has trained you on the phone or on whatever the conversation is. And that is why you need to pay attention to the kind of conversation you have with people. The sad part is, when you begin to have emotional conversations with people, you begin to have these vulnerable conversations with people, what happens is, as it draws your emotional appetite or your emotional your sexual emotions or your sexual appetite towards this person, it gets more challenging and difficult for you to detach yourself from it, because the sexual appetite is the strongest. So there are three strong appetites a man struggles with the most. There's food appetite, there's sex appetite. I'll talk about the last one later. That's why I need you to follow me now and follow my page. So when you talk about sexual appetite, it is one of the strongest appetites that can hook a man up for life on anything. So the closer you get to this person by talking about sex, by talking about intimacy, sexual intimacy, by talking about parts of your body or parts of his body, the more difficult it is for you to detach yourself. Because even when you detach yourself, and the day your body wants that kind of experience, it will force you to go back into that conversation. Now, I would say that one of my clients had told me how that this guy is modest. He's modest and moral. He's also, in a way, religious, believes in the Christian understanding of morality, morality and keeping yourself away from infidelity and the likes. Now, this guy had mentioned out that because of the way his sexual urge was playing on him at some point, he got to a bank. He got to a bank for a transaction, met a lady that normally would not have had a conversation with, because you could tell that this lady would be open to having that kind of experience with him, and he couldn't, because of the urge and the desire at the time, got the lady's number and was almost going to pull through by messaging and just getting to know, which he knew that the end result of this was going to be this kind of experience. But what he did at that point was he said the moment he got himself like, oh, I got this lady's number, and I know if I would not lie to myself, I know that the reason why I've gotten this number is so that I can pull through on this experience that I feel in my body. What he did was, he said the moment he had that self-awareness, he deleted the number. Because he knows how the body plays on you. Your appetite plays on you. You don't have to tell your brain, I want to do it or I don't want to do it. And I also want you to know, when people say, I don't know how it happened, I can't explain, we just had it. And I also hope you know that the moment you have sexual intimacy with people, even if you've not wanted to have it, and by the time you want to have it, in the process of actually having the experience, the adrenaline is running all through your body, the whole appetite, the urge. The moment it happens, usually 15 minutes into it, you feel like, why am I doing this? And then you wake up and you feel like, no, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be having this experience with a woman or with somebody outside of my marriage or outside of my committed relationship. You then understand that Your sexual appetite does not play by what you think you will do. That I can control myself, it can never happen to me. It plays on the actual experience of you working out your boundaries and not making it happen. And I won't have a child out of wedlock. It's not going to happen to me. I see how single mothers are. I don't want to be a single mother. I see how single fathers are having a child. I don't want to be this. But at the end of the day, you've ended up being a single father. And I've mentioned out that a guy said, a guy had said to me, said, I detested infidelity in marriage, having sexual intimacy with people outside of marriage. I hated it, men cheating on their partners, until fast forward few years after, I now have 2 kids with 2 different women out of wedlock. So it's not when you just think about it, it's when you actually pull through by planting the boundaries and working it, actioning it out, not just thinking about it. And I teach this a lot because I've seen people make these mistakes of, it cannot happen to me, this overconfidence and the self-confidence they have, but never ever works that way. So the first is, people who deliberately target you to manipulate into sexual intimacy is, first, they move fast on personal information, then use it against you. They isolate the conversation from the rest of your life. They don't want you to tell people. They don't want you to tell anybody. And the third is, they mirror you specifically to create instant connection. I talked about how that when a man is getting close to you and sees an area of vulnerability, he plays the role of solving that need. And usually, as a woman, when you are vulnerable in the place of opening up to somebody, if a man feels that gap, he can take advantage of that and get into your sexual life to get you to pledge or to get you to release your sexual emotions over to him, and then take advantage of that against you. The same way, when as a man, because you are egoistic, you allow a woman massage your ego into a reality. It's funny how that I would say this was my personal experience. Now, at the time, I was in a courtship, a relationship courtship with my now wife, and I had met this lady who, I will talk about the second part of this, which is what women love in men. I want you to share this with everybody you know this is going to help. Please share. Now, this lady had said to me, not like I had said it to me, said, I would love us to be in a relationship. And I remember telling this lady, but you know that I'm in a romantic relationship with a lady somewhere. And then she said what shocked me. I've had people say this, but I never knew I was going to have the experience. He said, but you don't have to tell your partner. Tell the lady I was in a relationship with. And I felt, how is this lady thinking? Now, there was proximity. By presenting the opportunity to me, if I didn't have my boundaries right, I'm telling you, things would have gone down. So it's quite important that you're firm. The boundaries are not just, it can never happen to me. Boundaries are that you plant it. When this happens, this is what I'm going to do. And this lady, the interesting part is, this lady I'm talking about, one was the talk of town. This lady was the type that every man would want to have as their girlfriend, yet pleading at the table of another man to have a kind of intimacy she would normally not give to others. Now, I'll talk about how women usually give themselves to people and how men take advantage of that. Now, it's not meant to be weakness necessarily. It's a kind of strength that, if not handled well, can destroy a woman's relationship or a woman's marriage. Now, so I've just talked about how that men or women or anybody, say, for example, you are a man, your wife or your partner is not available for you, doesn't respect you, doesn't honor you, or has always been busy, or now dresses shabbily, you are no more attracted. The moment a woman starts giving you a listening ear, you start tilting towards the woman. The moment the woman says, oh, why is your wife doing that? And then you are open enough to say, or vulnerable enough to say, she doesn't even allow me to have sex with her. She's just not there. I've been starved of sex for the last few months, blah, 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 blah. And the woman is playing the whole, I'm sorry, this doesn't have to happen to you. You're an excellent guy, massaging your ego. Men fall for that. And then before you know it, it may start innocently, But for a woman who really wants to have her way with you, or for a man who wants to have their way with you, what they play is they start playing the role of the savior, starts becoming the emotional load bearer, and they start helping you out. So you need somebody to talk to. They are there for you to talk with them. I remember this. So I coached the lady, and what she said was, she had already started getting connected to another guy. This lady was going to get married in a few months, but then her emotions is drifting towards this guy because the guy was available to speak to, because the guy would listen. And the same, it happens vice versa. So I'm not going to get so much into that. Now, the next point here is they test small boundaries before the big ones. Now, if a guy wants to manipulate you sexually, he won't just come hauling. For example, if a guy observes that you love gifts, what he's going to start doing is test you with gifts and then see how you respond to it. It's just more like a project. Now I'm talking about those the people deliberately manipulate others into sexual intimacy. They observe you. They it's more like Central Intelligence Agency. They observe you, look for what you need, how you need it, or more like taming an animal, because we are higher animals in the long run. And the other way is, even for women, you observe the man. What is he lacking? What does he need? I won't come too soft. I won't come too soon. I'll come innocently. I'll provide what he needs. And then I'll test him with small things. Maybe the first time is going to be, and usually some women know how to play the hard game, even when they know that I want to have sexual intimacy with this guy, even though he's married. What they start with is just trying to come clean as though they don't have it in mind. And men play this game naively when the woman tend to appear to have a strong boundary. A man easily lets loose of his guard because he feels the woman can handle herself. And I have to say this to every woman listening to me. An average man assumes that when the lady is showing that this cannot happen, that she means it and she's going to pull it through. So men assume that women have more control of their sexual urge and emotions and their ways of expressing it. While that may look true in some realities, it is not exactly true. It's just that women usually know how to hide it, even if they are dying on the inside and they want it. So they can play the game as though they don't want it until there's the opportunity and everything goes down the drain. I don't want to mention that, but I believe you get what I mean. I want you to leave me a like. I want you to leave me a like and then leave me comments. Thank you for those who are requesting to join the live. I'm not accepting people right now. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to just have an episode where I'm going to bring people on board and then you can have a conversation with me here. I will do that sometime. I believe I just hope I have the time, and I'm going to try to do that. So this is quite important. So when people frame your hesitation as your problem, when you start having conversation with people and they ask you, my usual example, what's your bra size? And then you hesitate in giving them a response, or you try to tell them, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. Then they come off telling you, oh, it's because you don't like me. They guilt trip you. It's because, oh, are you thinking I'm trying to manipulate you? Are you thinking I'm not honest enough? If you ask me that question, I'm just gonna be innocent with you. Or a woman asking you, how has your sexual experience been with your partner? I just want to ask for knowledge purposes. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing out of jeez. Oh my god. You know, sexual intimities can take a very wild turn. And then the other person starts playing the victim, which is usually the one who is attempting to manipulate the other person. Start saying, no, I never meant it that way. I was just going to ask you. You just say it. Even if you are not saying it, it's not a bad idea. Or sometimes they lock up and they make you look like, oh, I'm not going to ask again. But they are definitely going to ask you the same question again. They are definitely going to ask you. You have to pay attention to that. Oh my god. So the frame your hesitation as your problem. The moment you start putting up your boundary, they start telling you the boundary is the problem. And when you tell them to respect your boundary, they start putting up acts, and it's just a pure tactic. They don't want to respect your boundary, and it's so crucial that you pay attention to that as well. Now, the key line to that is that when a person is drifting into what looks nervous, inconsistent, or what makes you guilty, if you tread the pattern well, It is manipulation. It is manipulation. It is manipulation. Now, I would say this. Falling for this temptation does not mean you are an evil person or you are an evil partner. The problem here can be that you did not prepare yourself for times like this, because everyone gets tempted. I'll also give you a personal experience. So I remember there was a community I belonged to at some point, and there was this lady. I was unmarried at the time. There was this lady who caught my eye in a way. Now, I need you to understand, like I explained, catching my eye was not because I was lustful, it was because I needed somebody to pour my emotions on. And at the time, I was in a romantic relationship, a distance romantic relationship. And I'm saying this vulnerable enough to share this because I know it's going to help you. I know it is helping you. So, this lady, nice stature, nice, and a part of me, because I'm quite intelligent, a part of me knew that if I needed to get this lady in bed, I could do that. And because I'm self-aware, I knew my body was playing tricks on me to say that, "Nah, I like this girl, but there's nothing about it." Or she looks appealing, but there's nothing about it. I knew it would be a lie. So if I try to subdue that thought, I would be lying to myself, and the experience is just going to happen because my body is going to work out experiences and opportunities to make it happen. So because these had lingered for a while, the first thing I did was to call the lady. Now, I want you to know that one of the ways to reduce sexual temptations and to get rid of it is when you can come clean, direct, and address the matter. When you can say, "I'm being tempted by you and I don't want it to happen." And then you go on to explain the boundaries that you have and what you have to do and put it through. When you confront it, it's easier. So I wanted to say something about how that a friend of mine, so I'll complete the story, but a friend of mine said, whenever he's tempted by a lady or his sexual drive is moving towards a lady, the easiest way he addresses it to shut that uh, neurological projection to working it out to happen is that he will confront the person he's fantasizing or he's beginning to fantasize, sexually fantasize in his head. He will call out the person and say, hello, hello, hello. Do you know what my brain is telling me now? And usually the other person will say, no, what's that about? And it's going to say, my brain is fantasizing sexually about you. He knows that the moment he addresses that thought directly, punctures it front faced, the thought is going to disappear. Because now the lady knows, now there's nothing to hide. You've exposed whatever is going on in your head. Your brain is going to retract and not plan the coup with your body to override your mind. So getting back to my story, I remember speaking with seeing the lady, and I had to call her and I said, "Do you?" Because I've had experiences like this. I've had opportunities to have sexual intimacy with ladies that I knew I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this because I prepped myself with information before the opportunities even presented itself, and it informed me. Not like the information I had was what didn't make me do it, but it prepared me such that when there was the opportunity, I was able to choose. I had the higher leverage to choose if to pull through or if not to give in to the temptation. So I called the lady and I said, do you believe that if I want us to have sexual experience, we would have it? And then she said, no, it's not gonna happen. And I said, well, I think you know it will happen because first, I can tell that you have interest, a kind of interest in me, even if you're not showing it. That's one. Secondly, I know how I can get you. Now, I'm not going to come straight and say, let's get in bed or let's make this happen. The first I'm going to do is come clean as the acquaintance or as a friend. I'm going to invite you for lunch twice, invite you on a date, maybe one more time, which is going to be outside. You choose anywhere you want to go, and I'm going to fund it. And the next time I'm going to invite you to come to my house, it's going to be innocent. There's going to be my boys or my team members who are around with me at the time. So it's going to look innocent until I start creating a sexual bond with you. And then you loosen your guard, you start becoming emotionally entangled to me, you feel safe around me, and then you let loose of yourself, and then I'm able to get what I need from you. And then she said, well, to be honest, she knew that I could always put that through. Now, the problem with that is I didn't have to tell her before pulling it through. If I wanted to, I could have manipulated her into that by working the systems and strategies to ensure that really happens. So every one of us can be tempted. As a man, you can be tempted, whether or not you're single or you're married. You can always be tempted. There are opportunities, like I mentioned. If you're starved from home, if you don't feel loved, if you don't feel respected, if you don't, there are many things that preps you for this opportunity before you even have the opportunity to pull the experience through. And I believe and I hope you take that as an uncomfortable truth you have to learn from this today. Now, so I'll talk about the realistic solutions. I've talked first about you say it out loud. The moment someone is getting into your space to sexually tempt you or to sexually make you get born with you sexually, you have to say it out loud. Confront it. And you don't fall for the guilt trip when you say, I'm sorry I don't talk about my sex life with anybody else. And the moment the other person is trying to flip the conversation around to say, I didn't mean it like that, sorry, I'm just going to uh sorry. When you say I didn't mean it like that, I'm just trying to say this, it means you don't trust me. The moment anyone is trying to guilt trip you, you have to confront it and tell them you are guilt tripping me right now. You shouldn't be asking about my sexual life or anything pertaining to my to the any sexual part of my body. And the moment I flagged it, you should not be flipping the conversation against me. You will just need to be intelligent and put the intelligence to test, not our emotions first. You have to override your emotions. And I should also say this: if you're emotionally weak, you are consistently going to be taken advantage of. If you are consistently weak. Now, I should also mention this. Now, there's this lady who, single mother, she's now separated. And I want to say many people fall in this category as a single father, single mother, or even single people. And then you say, oh, I'm not going to have sexual experiences with anybody else until I get married again. But you find that many of them have friends meeting their sexual needs because they're emotionally loose or they cannot be accountable. Some of them may not be accountable sometimes because some of them try to be accountable, but some are not even accountable. But some try to be, okay, this is all of me, this is what has been happening to me, but they are not willing to put in the work to ensure that they are able to curb their emotions, not talk late into the night. The moment you know that your emotions is loose, your sexual emotions is loose, say you have sexual urge and people are coming around you as guys, they you have emotional needs and guys come to play the role, you have to cut out conversations. Don't say guys are my friend, I just love having relationship with guys. You don't say that because it is not going to end well. Say I don't trust women. As a woman, you're saying I don't trust women, they are not just nice people. Then you start confiding in a man. It's going to get worse. Or as a woman or as a man, you start confiding in a woman, it's going to get intimate at some point. The higher chance is going to get intimate. It's just safe to not put yourself in that shoe where you are sexually loose than put yourself there and you start looking for ways to get out of that. Now, so say it out loud and clearly address it. The second point here is you redirect compliments instead of sitting in them. When anybody compliments you to say, oh, you're exceptional, you look beautiful today, or you are so fantastic today, give responses like, oh, myself and my wife, we've been working on this for a while. You say, oh, I love your body build. Bring in your partner into the play. Confront them with that. Say things like, wow, it's my wife doing that. Oh, that's how my wife invests in me. Always say it. A friend of mine was telling me lately how that well, she didn't mean any harm. She told the she's a nurse, told the doctor and said, well, I cook, I can bring you meals. I can bring you meals innocently. And the guy said, oh, my wife packs food for me every single day that I can't even finish. When you address it like that, even when you're not trying to say that, that is what they mean. It sets a boundary, sets a structure that you already confront them to know that you have somebody you respect, you honor, and you don't want to, or you have a boundary that surrounds you, that you're keen about. Number 3 is that you limit repeated one-on-one closeness. You don't get into too late. You're talking to 12 p.m., 2 hours a day with a lady or with somebody of the opposite sex. Don't just say it can never happen to me. It can happen to anybody. You start drifting into conversations like that. Don't start deleting messages. The moment it starts happening, cut those kind of relationships. Just end it. Just end it. Now, treat reassurance lines as red flags, not one for you to enjoy and comfort. When there's anybody who is complimenting you too much out of the ordinary, do not say, this could never happen between us. She's just my colleague. She's just this. Don't just rule out some lines and say it cannot happen. See the possibility of anything happening. And I also want you to know, if I have not said this, people have sexual intimacy with others, not necessarily because they love them. You can have sexual intimacy with people you don't love. You can have sexual intimacy with people you never planned. And usually, these things happen when your body is prepped and there's only a trigger waiting. And the moment there's the opportunity, it shoots. By the time it's done, you start thinking, I shouldn't have done that. I thought it would never have happened, because you were loose. You thought it's just my neighbor. You thought it's just a stranger I picked on the street. Nah. Don't treat reassurances for too much comfort. And when there's a gap in your relationship, instead of divulging it to a third party of the opposite sex, try to solve it. And this is why it is crucial for you to have a partner who is intelligent and who is peaceful, a partner who wants to bring things to the table and resolve it when it is necessary, maybe immediate or later, a partner who would not sweep things under the carpet, and a partner who would respect your emotions, either as a man or as a woman, respect your whatever, if it is your ego, your emotions, or want things to work out between the two of you, not one who just wants you for the sake of. And I want you to know that as it stands, civilization is going to a point where everybody wants a standard that is exceptionally apart. But in a successful home where you want to have a proper marital commitment and you don't want to cheat, it entails you having common goals that you're both working together with. So you and your partner ensuring that you work at things to remain positive, not that you work at things to destroy the marriage or to destroy the home. I hope this makes sense to you. I will need you to leave me a subscribe and to follow if you want to keep seeing this. Now, address the gap at home instead of outsourcing it. Set the rule before you're tested, not during the experience. So before you have the opportunity to be with the woman alone in the house, before you have the opportunity to start divulging your sexual experiences to a strange man or to a man who is your colleague, before you get into that, you have to set the rule. Imagine it happening. I'm not saying imagine the experience. Just tell yourself, what happens if my colleague starts getting to me in this way? What happens if a man starts asking me what is my bra size? What happens if a man starts asking me what size of underwear do I wear? What if a man starts buying me underwear unduly? What if a woman is asking me of my experience with my wife, if I enjoy it or not? What if a woman starts starts touching me in a kind of way? Because you also have to understand, I've seen women who naturally are clingy, who, when they're around you, they want to hug you, they want to hold you, they want to do things like that. What if I start holding on to men like that and it starts sparking things in them? Now, there was somebody I coached, and what was the problem? She's clingy. You meet a guy for the first time in a party, you innocently just think it's not a bad idea. You want to hug them, hold them, and there's your chest touching this man, holding this man. Even when they don't have that thought in mind originally, they may start having the thoughts of having sexual intimacy because you are probably awakening things in them. Sometimes when you are alone in the room with a stranger, for example, there are siblings who commit incest. Let's even leave siblings, say in-laws. And I've seen these cases multiple times, and people don't know how to set themselves up to ensure that these experiences do not end up happening. So you are home, you say, I'm just a wife in this home, that's my in-law. It can never happen between us. But then you're dressing loose, your some part of your chest is showing in a way that this person is of the opposite sex, is a guy, or is a man, or is a woman. They are going to respond in a way. There's a way you don't compliment your in-laws. They are going to start seeing you in a kind of way, especially if there are things they are nursing that you have not been paying attention to. And I hope this makes sense for everybody. I hope this helps you. Now, I want you to leave me a follow and a subscribe as you're watching this. And I want you to share to as many as possible people who are watching this. Now, so I've just talked about the realistic solutions to ensuring that you don't fall for the manipulations of people. Now, after this live, I'm going to take a break and then come back in about an hour to discuss the episode 3 of this, which is I'm going to be talking about maintaining sexual boundaries still, but we'll be talking about how a woman is wired and how a man is wired. And if we, or by the time we understand this in this masterclass, it will be easier for us to set boundaries that stick because you know then how it works. I remember a lady who told me, she said, I can't go visit this guy because I know myself. I can't go visit this guy because I know myself. Now, it's important you know yourself. It's important you know yourself that, especially if it is somebody you're already vulnerable to, somebody you've talked about many things, many sexual things, it's important you know yourself. So the moment you know that I can't go visit this guy, and then you decide that you go ahead to visit him, and then he touches you one kind of way, and then you're gone. You just gone. Oh my God, oh my God. Now, it's important to know yourself. So I'm going to be talking about that in the next episode. But now I'm going to recap what I have here. So you can be vulnerable, you can be unnecessarily vulnerable, which may be a place of strength but can be manipulated against you if you are not paying attention to that. The part 2 I talked about is stage by stage, when you start crossing the line, when you start saying things about it can never happen between us, I can't have this sexual intimacy with my in-law, it can never happen. Nah. It can happen. I can control myself, you cannot control yourself. So I'll also say this: the moment when as pertaining to sexual intimacy, the moment you exchange emotions with somebody, whether or not they reciprocate it, the moment you lay hold of sexual emotions with somebody, as it grows and you pile it up, it gets to a stage where the moment you enter into the opportunity, there's no going back. Even if your brain is telling you, no, don't pull this through, don't do this, this is against this is against what you believe, this is against the structure you put in place, it's against your boundary, there is a moment where when you go past it, your body is going to pull through the experience, actualize it, present it, act out the experience before you can get yourself. And that is why by the time people finish having the experience, sexual experience, they always come back to, how did that happen? Did I just have sex with this person? Did I just kiss this person? Did I just have this intimacy with this person? Because they did not understand that the moment you walk your way into this intimacy, sexual exchange of emotions and testosterone, when you get to a point in that journey, there is no going back. Your body will pull it through. Your body will make the experience happen before your brain catches up. I hope that makes sense to you. I know it should make sense to you, and I believe you get the point. So I talked about it can never happen between us. I can control myself. Proximity disguised as convenience, compliments that makes you feel better. The justification loop and the tipping point. Also, the solutions to this I talked about. Saying it out loud, confronting it. I talked about redirecting compliments instead of you usurping them and then feeling too good in them. Address the gap at home instead of outsourcing it. Don't just don't bring a stranger to fill into a space you have not created for them. And set the rule before you are tested, not during. You have to prepare for it. People who have successful homes, it's not like they're not tested. And I remember my mentor, a relationship mentor, who we subjected our relationship to before I got married, said to us, he said, this guy has a beautiful wife, but cheating on your partner and having sexual intimacy outside of your marriage does not regard whether or not your partner is beautiful or not. It doesn't matter if your partner is beautiful or if they are diligent or if they have helped you. It doesn't even mean they have offended you. It just may mean that you have let your guards down in some regards, and then opportunity presents itself and you just pull it through by having the sexual intimacy with these people. I believe that makes sense to you. So, and they had talked about how that he said, see, I have had opportunities. I've had opportunities, many opportunities to have sexual intimacy with people aside my wife. But I just have to come back again to think about it. I cannot do this to my wife. I cannot do this to my wife. And then you get to that point where you just have to stand for what to believe. But it comes with you preparing ever before the experience happens or the experience pulls through. Now, like I said, you have to follow, because I'll talk about how a man is made, what a man is made up of, why a man falls for this experience much more than how the man feels when they are presented with this opportunity, how a woman feels, how as a woman you can build yourself up to withstand or to be able to handle effectively every sexual temptations you may face, and how as a man you can restrict yourself and you can help yourself when you are being faced with opportunities to be untrustworthy with your partner. I believe this has helped you. Thank you so much for joining my live today. I would love to see you soon. Thank you.